Hello, it's James from Therapy Business School. I hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world. Now, in my last video, I did and I'll put a link for it up on the side, but it was how should you get paid from your clients, all right? So click on that one if you haven't seen that one already. This video is going to be about how much you should get paid. So we're talking money, and I'm going to be very generalized here, but from the British, we're normally quite bad at talking about money. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you and we're going to talk some concepts. Before I do that, I want you to think about something. This may trigger you. All right, there may be some watching this who don't like the idea of making money from a therapy business, and that can cause a little bit of conflict because it isn't a therapy volunteer role, it is a therapy business. And before I get into sharing my screen, I think that I should talk about a few things and lay out a few thoughts of my own, all right? So I don't mean to trigger you if I do. If I do, I apologize now. These are my thoughts and only my thoughts, all right? Now, if you are not making money in your business, you are potentially going out of business. And that's just fact. The reason you're doing this is because you want to help. And I think anyone who gets in the wellbeing space is doing it because they want to help. But that might have been your first thought. I want to do this because I want to help others. It was certainly mine. Now, when I was going through my own learning curve, my own learning journey, and I was volunteering here and volunteering there, I was picking up bits of business knowledge because I'd never done this before. I'd only ever worked for somebody else. Now, the thought of working for myself raised a bit of fear within me, to be fair, because I didn't know what really to do. But when I started my own business, I was making mistakes all over the place. And the problem was I didn't realize I was making them. And I was also losing money because of the mistakes. All right. So the purpose of this channel is to help you get more clients. It's to help you be better at your business. It's to help you take some of the stress and the pressure that you may feel away from you. All right. Now, if you're not making money in your business, you're going out of business. Now, if that happens and you go out of business, what that means is you can't help the people you would have been able to help before had you stayed in business. And that means you might have to get another job doing something you don't really want to do. Where if you made a few tweaks in your existing business, or even if you haven't got a business yet, fine, you haven't made the mistakes yet. But if you're making a few mistakes in your existing business, if you change them a little bit and start getting things in alignment, the chances are you could stay in business, which is fantastic. All right. So I'm going to talk about some concepts now. I know in counselling, the counselling hour is 50 minutes, but for people who are watching this video who are not counsellors, your sessions might be for 1 hour, might be for 1.5 hours. So I'm going to make this easier to understand, I'm going to approach it in the way of the session's going to be 1 hour. Now, if you're doing 50, just bear with me if it's okay. If you're doing 90 minutes, just bear with me if it's okay. All right. Just so we're all on the same footing, so to speak. So the way I'm going to approach this, the sessions are going to be for 1 hour. So when I'm saying you're working with a client, that's one client, 1 hour. All right. This isn't group work. This isn't 90-minute sessions. It isn't continual sessions. This is one client equals 1 hour. All right. Now, have a think for a second about what you presently charge. All right. So you got that figure in your head, and have a think about how long your sessions normally go on for, and have that calculation in your head as well. All right. So I'm going to show you the same technique, but approach them with three different figures. So I'm going to show you a calculator. I'm going to do some maths, but I'm going to do the heavy lifting. So you don't have to. All right. So let's share my screen. So let's say, for instance, you were working with a client and you were charging £40. Now, of course, you don't want to be working with clients every day of the week. I think that's too much. You don't want to be working with clients all the time for extended hours through the week as well. So what I would suggest is to approach this. We're going to look at this from a working with 5 clients a day And with those 5 clients a day, you're going to be doing 3 days a week. Okay? So you're working with clients for 3 days a week and you're having 5 clients a day. All right? So let's say you are charging £40 an hour. Well, we're going to times that by 5. That represents the 5 clients a day. So that's £200 a day. Now you're doing it for 3 days of the week. Okay? Now that's £600 a week. Now I wouldn't recommend you working every single week of the year either, because that can just be exhausting. So let's say you were going to work 48 out of 52 weeks of the year. I'm just coming up with these figures off the top of my head, but it's just so we have something to work from. All right. So just to recap, it's 5 clients a day. Each session is for an hour, and you're working 3 days a week, and you're working 48 weeks of the year. So let's multiply that 600 by 48. Okay, that's £28,800. That's what you'd earn a year if you're working at that ratio. All right. Now, some of you may be charging more than this. Some of you may be charging less than this. Let's change some of the figures and see what we get. So I'm going to clear the calculator. Now this time, I'm going to suggest a figure of £70. All right. And we're going to work it out at the same ratio as we were before. So that's 5 clients a day, 3 days a week, 48 weeks of the year. Okay, so here we go. So £70 times 5 equals £350 a day. Let's times that by 3. 1,050. Now let's times that, I should say, by 48, as in 48 weeks of the year. That's £50,400. Now, of course, you've got to pay your tax on top of this, and you'll have business expenses like your insurance, your premises, your internet, your electricity, your commute, all these kind of things. This is going to be the potential income that comes in before the expenses start. Okay, let's clear the calculator and put another figure in. This time, let's suggest that your sessions were £100. All right. Now, some of you might be thinking, £100? There's no way I can charge £100. You can. And I'm just going to, before I go into the calculator, I'm just going to talk about something. There's a reason a doctor gets paid more than a nurse. And there's a reason why a brain surgeon gets paid more than a doctor. All right. It's about specialising. The brain surgeon gets paid more, but I'd probably suggest they see less patients than the doctor. Right? So they're earning more money, but they've got less patients because they've specialised. Now, if you specialise in your business, and I specialised in mine, and I would recommend finding out what your niche is, or your niche if you're in America. But I say niche because I'm from the UK. But it's a good idea to find out what your niche is and then specialise in that. All right? So that's just in case the idea of £100 an hour frightens you. Some people are charging a lot more than that. But if you notice, they've specialised. So let's go to the calculator. So £100 times 5 clients a day times 3 days a week, £1,500 a week, times that by 48 weeks of the year. That's £72,000. Now the idea is that if you grip the bull by the horns on this and make sure that you are earning a decent living, what you're able to do, you're able to put food on the table, you're able to feed your family, you're able to start having a lifestyle that you want. It also gives you more freedom. All right, and that's a big one, because You might be great at helping everyone else, but are you helping yourself? Is there a part of you that thinks it's wrong to really help yourself? Well, you know that old phrase that charity begins at home? It's true. If you don't take care of you, you'll either go out of business or you'll get ill. And if you do either of those things, it means you can't help the people you really want to help. A way it was explained to me by a mentor of mine, I've got many mentors and I think it's good to have many mentors. A way it's explained to me was that if you have a niche or a niche, and imagine you have to go into a room and the room is full of cats, right? And the idea is you've got a cardboard box and you've got to put the cat in the box. Well, if you start chasing that cat and then that one and change your mind and go for that one, all these cats are going to start running around the walls. But if you go into the same room and you keep your eye on one particular cat, which is your niche, and you slowly and carefully and kindly walk across to that cat, which is your niche, and pick it up to put it in the box. On the way there, if another cat comes along and starts rubbing itself against your leg, you can pick that up and put that in the box too. What you don't want to do is go and chasing all over the place, because it also shows a little bit of desperation. From a client perspective, this person is really, it's almost like they're desperate, they're anxious to get me as a client. And that isn't a good thing either. So the idea is you charge your worth, you get paid what you're worth, you start living the life that you should be living, and you do it with as least amount of stress as possible. And that for me becomes a bit of a win-win. And anyone who knows me knows that I always go for the win-win if I can. Now, a win-lose I can tolerate, but a lose-lose is just the worst. No one's a fan of the lose-lose situation. So have a think about what you're charging. And also, if you're charging way below par, what could you do to increase that? Now, here's another mistake that a lot of people make. They look around at what everyone else is doing and they charge somewhere in between. They don't go to the top end and they don't go down the bottom end. They go somewhere in the middle ground. Now, thinking about this for a second from a customer point of view or a client point of view, if they're doing some research into you, you're going to be one of the middle of the road therapists, the middle skill. Maybe be perceived as you've only got medium skills. This person is like the Rolls Royce. This person is like not the Rolls Royce, the other end of the scale, and you're somewhere in the middle. Does that mean you're a somewhere in the middle kind of therapist with your skill set? This is the nurse, the doctor, and the brain surgeon analogy is again kicking in. All right. So have a think about what you're charging. Have a think about what your worth is. Have a think about what kind of lifestyle you'd like to have, what kind of legacy. Because the thing is as well, excuse me, if you're charging your worth and you're working with your niche, you're probably going to be seeing less clients than someone who isn't, who's trying to get everybody. And to be honest, that's a mistake that I used to do. I wanted to help everybody. And it took a very honest conversation with a mentor of mine to make me realise I can't help everybody. I can only help certain people. Now, for those who think, well, charging £100 is too much, well, the idea is that when you're working for 3 days a week, seeing 5 clients a day, if you want to do some pro bono work or some voluntary work, you can, because you're only working 3 days out of 7. So then you can have a foot in both camps should you choose to do so. All right. So it's not a case of we're going on the money grab, because no one really gets the therapy to do that. But you have got to live. You have got to live. You have got to put food on the table. You've got to stop yourself from getting ill. All right. Because anyone who's in this field knows we hear a lot of very, very difficult things that someone else is experiencing. And that can be hard. That can be hard to be in that area or that arena. And you're hearing this stuff from your clients. It's hard. And then you've got to have your life as well. but you don't really want to be taking on their stresses. In fact, there's a video I made about this called the trouble tree. What I'll do, up on the side, I'll put a link for that video in case you want to check that out. So this is a longer than normal video for me. The first one, last week's one, was when should you get paid? This one is about how much you can potentially get paid. And the next week's one is going to be, and this one's by request, and this is how to get paid. So I'm going to talk about different ways of actually taking payment as well. So if you want to see that one, please press the like, the share and the subscribe. That always helps. And I mention this on every video. It helps the YouTube algorithm send this out to people who may need to hear it. All right. So that's what next week's video was going to be. I hope you are enjoying these videos. I really do. I'm making them with the best of intentions to help you not make some mistakes that I did, and also be a better therapist. And I'm going to cover lots of different things in future videos as well. All right. So for the time being, I'll say bye bye. This is James from Therapy Business School, and I will see you all soon. Bye bye.